Welcome to another episode of 10,000 Hours and Counting, my spiritual podcast to bring support and hopefully plant some seeds of light for those of you on your journey, just to encourage you to keep going and to keep putting in your effort and trusting that the results are unfolding. So today I'm here on my own. And I've been ruminating and thinking season 2 seems to be coming out a bit differently to last year's podcast, season 1, which is not surprising considering the energies and everything that's going on. So, on my own today, I did want to talk a little bit about leaning into those fears that we may have, even the fears of maybe getting what it is you want. So, have you had some big dream that you've been wanting to happen, for a long time? And it might not be a specific mind mapped dream, but is it something that your heart has been repeatedly whispering to you over and over? And you feel like you've been on a really long journey and you still don't think that it's happening? So sometimes there is a level of birthing something new and also something big on an energy level that does require you to go through this process of layers and layers. And there will be a point, and often it can be midpoint or getting towards the end of when it's actually going to come into being, where you need to face the fears that you might have of what would happen? How would my life be? What would things look like if I actually do get this dream, this desire, if I actually do get what I want? And we have to actually acknowledge that there is that shadow part of the dream, that there'll be a thing of what would take away from me, what might I lose? And that's the human part of us, whereas the soul part can really connect in and know. It's almost like the soul sort of feeds and nourishes itself off the frequency of the dream and the journey and the path to make that dream happen. The soul doesn't need the results. The journey and the steps are actually sort of that self-fulfilling, energizing work. So that works for the soul. But we are a soul with a human personality. And the human personality, can work with all different thought facets. And we think about the actual human brain and its ability to argue, one case or another case, that the brain can get very confused and thinking can be all muddled, which is why in spiritual teaching we're always advised to drop into the heart when we're tuning in or asking for help or making a decision, not to allow the head to rule, because the head and the human brain can be limited. We allow higher mind and heart to connect and guide us, and our soul is always connected to the heart. But back to what I was saying about these unacknowledged fears, perhaps, because they can come down to little tiny obstacles and, sometimes like back alleys and little channels that pop up, because it's like you're sending the message to the universe of you're not fully sure that you want the dream. You do, and we're not denigrating that, but we're saying there's little stable gates and things that come up where you feel blocked. And sometimes this isn't just an inner threshold for you to admit, to take a time to sit and say to yourself, maybe you know the fears, maybe they're quietly in the background, maybe you don't, but take a moment. If you're feeling, this is the guidance for if you're feeling that the big dream is just still a bit, far away, or you've put so much time and effort into it and so much process. And so many times when you thought it was happening, and then you have to step back because it's not quite right. So this would be guidance for you in order to nourish yourself, almost like over the threshold into the last point of the race. So you can just consider and just be open to either journaling or sitting in conversation with the divine, with your own heart, and just thinking, what is it that I might be frightened of about getting what it is that I want? What fears are possessing me that are making this feel harder than it has to be? Now, obviously, it can be a divine timing issue that you're still waiting for all the other puzzle pieces to drop in, and that's always a big part at play. But just acknowledging any fears you may have. Will you be seen in some way by others? Will you be left alone? What will happen if the dream comes out into the world? Are you frightened that if you give your information into the world, it will be taken from you, either taken and, I'm going to use the word again, denigrated by others, not seen as important, or taken and distorted? And when we can sit in this space and have a feel into what some of the fears may be, we're also helping to access old timelines where there will have been aspects of the self, aspects of you, archetypal journeys. But no, let's not go archetypal. Let's just go the aspects of the self, because we have all had many lives here. Aspects where, your teachings were taken, your life was destroyed by standing up and speaking your truth, or any of these things. So the little fears that come through now, they're not stop signs to make you give up. They're just little nuggets of information for you to take. And when you shine your light of awareness, like you put awareness onto them, you think about them, it gives permission for a healing, like a timeline energy to close. So instead of sitting on it and wanting to pretend it's not happening or thinking, I won't give power to that thought by thinking it, you actually do. You don't give power to it. You can clear it and heal it by giving space and actually looking at it. It's like that sort of story of like, you shine the light into the darkness, you face your fear, and it's much less than what it seems when it's just at the edges of your periphery, like a big monster, like the monster under the bed, right? So, and I've just made a note here. Yeah. The other thing about it is we know that the path is not linear. It is spiraling. Often there are times where not just spiraling, but you actually find the path is woven you back around, well, that's a spiral, but you're coming back. You feel like you're taking back steps. You feel like every energy to go forward, you're actually like backsliding on a path full of, shale and pebbles, and you cannot get traction. So this will be because universe and your soul wants you to be where you are and have a sort of a sideways energy, like a frequency of feeling into the current situation in all of its facets, not just be looking at where you want to go or thinking about where you were, but stopping to be where you are. I am here and it is now. And do your best to, it's easy for me. I talk about feeling into stuff. I have to feel everything first, but whatever it means for you, examine, look into it, just the sideways energy of what else is going on here. So there's twofold here. One is, as I said before, what are the aspects of the past that are affecting the current, the present, the moment for you? What are they things that have happened in this life that, or you saw reflected to you from others? What are you seeing from past aspects of you that might be hidden to this point, but are there for you to bring the pebbles of the pain to the light? In this moment, talking about past aspects, I also want to acknowledge karma and karmic connections. And I just want to flag for you, if you ever watch any of those shows like Finding Your Roots or Who Do You Think You Are, where you have the celebrity go on the journey to look at their lineage, you will see many times people either tear up a bit or just speak words of wisdom. They say, oh, they feel compassion for the person because they're reading about a person they never knew. And let's face it, human history has been hard to this point. So they're usually always terrible stories. But in that moment of them acknowledging that person they never met, acknowledging the pain, there is an opportunity for energetic freedom to lift for the souls that are no longer here. So you look at the painful thing, but you don't let it define you or that person. But by putting awareness on it, it opens energy. It's like a little energy pocket. It's like a bubble bursts and energy is freed up for something else. So the sideways thing, that uncomfortable feeling, where does it come from? And again, we're not experimenting. Sorry, we're not looking with laser-like vision of always going to self heal, check for the patterns. That can be its own shadow. But we are looking at if where I'm at doesn't seem to be making progress, instead of pushing or instead of just falling back to what I already know, can I be with the uncomfortable feeling of not sure, of uncertainty, and maybe even a little bit of a feeling of, lack of faith and hope in the energy you've put in? Can I be in this present moment and feel into where I am and understand what my process is? Am I one of those people who needs to do a lot of energy and put work and put steps and things, build things together, and then before the last push, maybe do I need this time to rest and integrate? Because if it's a project you're looking at, it might be that the next part of that success is going to be your energy in the world really speaking and showing up and sharing it with people. So you've been creating here, in your laboratory, your mad scientist or whatever it is, and it's going to require another level of your energy to be on the platform of putting it out there into the world. And so universe is kind, right? The universe is kind and generous and wants to help you succeed. So if you are in the flow of success and you're just like, here's my project and here's the platform, you might run yourself ragged, whereas universe is saying, just sit for a moment. It's created, like there's certain steps here that are very important. It doesn't want you to put aside the things that don't yet have an answer or haven't worked, but they have to sit for a moment and you need to be in rest and what I term integration where you allow the energies of what has been, what is, and what will be to align themselves with you in the present moment. This isn't really a conscious process, but the conscious part of it is giving yourself permission to understand that you need to allow energies to connect and weave into something with each other. And there's always a moment where the action will come upon you and you will be ready to move forward. Even if you don't feel ready, there'll be part of you that is ready. That's a paradox, I'm quite sure. But that's just what I wanted to talk about. The idea that getting what we want can sometimes frighten us. And so then we can sometimes energetically push away what it is that we want because it gives us the building blocks to sit and refine, almost just refine the energy and understand how we are made up of all the parts of us, understand what's motivating us, understand what's frightening us. And this can be a simple process. As I say, it doesn't require getting out, your like I want to say I'm sort of thinking like medical glasses, and it doesn't mean getting into a really deep spiral again. It just means sitting and taking a breath and accepting where you are at and not thinking that you're in failure because things don't look the way they should to your mind. So if you are in this stage and you are just wanting to sit and sort of think about these sideways feelings, I feel like I want to bring online to for anyone who, again, is trying to create something that they don't really have a template for out in the world, that the way what you want to do, you might be getting messages that it can't be done the way you feel you want to do it. So this is really a time of you having to be that. It's almost like being the pioneer back in the day, taking your wagon out into the unknown and fighting off wildcats and whatever it is and inhospitable lands, being any kind of explorer. How do you balance what you can feel inside you is meant to be created with a world that maybe says no, there isn't room for it? So ask any creative, ask any person who has tried to do this. It does come with a level of self-trust and an ability to sometimes pull back your vision from looking outside of you or looking at other ways other people are doing things in your field. There's only so much research and things you can do until, again, you have to come back to you and allow that to gestate within you. And then you let your soul, basically what you're doing is your soul is kind of digesting those bits that you need, and it's unlocking more keys and gateways for you to step through. So disappointment in results can actually sometimes be the gateway to miraculous occurrences that couldn't have come into fruition without the pain of disappointment. So commit to you and your project, depending whatever spectrum of success you're on, whatever spectrum of readiness of the project. Understand that it's uniquely coming through you for a reason. If it's in your heart, it's been planted there as a seed. It's for you to take note of, and it's for you to bring through new ways, because everything has to come. Everything old, everything new, everything was once new. And there's no way to rely on outside structures to create something that as yet doesn't exist, because it doesn't exist. It comes through you, and you almost pave your own path in allowing it to come through. So if you're in that moment of not sure where you're going forward, don't need to go back, don't actually feel you can go back to where you were, be where you are now. Imagine that you can sit in that sideways energy and feel into the tendrils of what it is, why you feel motivated to do this in the first place, where you've come from, what might be bringing up fear from the past. And then just feel into, I'm not like the future tendril. It's like you can just feel into almost like you're sending a prayer to the universe of success for your vision, for your life, or whatever it is, almost like just tuning into the energy of having that thing here now. And again, we're sort of taught as humans with manifestation to get very tight grasp on things and visualize it exactly as it will look and feel. And that can sometimes be limiting, because when it's a totally unformed new thing, whether it's a type of relationship or any kind of project, trying to visualize it too hard, I feel like it can almost, and I found it for myself, too hard a visualization can actually limit what is trying to come through. It's something beyond the dream. So sit in the sideways space, be present and release the frustration of I can't make it happen. Trust that it's not what's happening, it's part of the creation process. Be willing to face the fears. What would happen if I got this amazing thing? Am I in some way holding myself back? What are my fears about it? What are my fears about allowing myself to receive what I genuinely know my soul wants for me and not what my head would like me to have? What will happen to me? Who will be with me in my life? Just these little questions. And again, not in a deep, deep, long process, but just self-reflection questions. And then sitting and just filling into the future energy, pretending if you have to, that you can allow space as though it's a timeline, as though it's energy coming in, and just see if you can feel like you would think about the light of the sun on your face when you're in a dark winter. Imagine it. Just imagine new things coming through and imagine your dream coming to you, but in ways that are beyond what your mind can imagine. So that's what I do for me. For me, it's a very much a sensory thing. It's a feeling. It's an intention. It's not really with my mind, even my higher mind. It would be more of a feeling. And I would also advise you that when you get those thoughts from out of left field, or you get a sort of a guidance or something comes to you that drops into your life, you do know when it's a thought of yours or when it's an inspiration or something from spirit. There's a real difference between it. You'll find yourself even saying something to someone that you don't plan. These are the ways that soul speaks through you too. So be aware of those magic moments too. And understand that at the moment on earth, we are really in the process of being able to create really new ways of doing things. Old systems and structures are breaking down, and we've got many people trying to bring new things online, but they're still trying to bring them into a world that would like them to be packaged in a certain way. That's a recipe for frustration. So take that off. Don't let yourself get frustrated. Don't feel you have to give up. Don't look back at the past and say, oh, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. This is not helpful in the now because that time has passed. So be gentle with yourself. Understand you are in a process. Understand that the dream will happen for you at the right time, and your best focus is to continually get out of your own way for it. Get out of your own way and surrender to spirit and to the path. It's the best thing to do. It's not always easy, but it is easier in the long run than riding yourself ragged with your own mind and your thinking and all the to-do lists and all the structures, the tick the box list and all the things you see outside of yourself, because in the end, it comes back to you and what you are capable of bringing through. And this is on any level. So sit in anything that feels uncomfortable. Trust there's a reason for it. Gentle yourself. And I'm just making sure. Yeah, it's about learning to navigate our lives and to get everything to work with us. So the light and the dark, all of that, it's bringing it into one thing and accepting all of those parts. So that's what's come through today, and that's been a theme that I've been seeing. It's certainly something I've worked with in my life, of having to be almost on an unlit road. There might be just one light ahead of you, and trusting that even in the uncertainty, there's a reason for it. There's an very old quote, and I believe it might be Einstein, but where someone says there are two ways to live in the world, and one is as though nothing is a miracle, and the other is as though everything is a miracle. And I have got that credited to Einstein, but who knows? It's just a good advice anyway. So look for the miracles, look for the small signs, they are there. Trust and believe that you're part of some bigger picture. You really are. As I say all the time, we are souls having a human experience, and we are learning how to become this new being, to let the heaviness of the human existence to this point, move into something lighter where soul, spirit, matter move together, and we can be new humans operating in new ways that are caring for us and our whole world and each other. So it's not a small job. It's not small. Give yourself the gift of being where you are and being open to look at what's happening, but most of all, above all, do not give up on the dream, even if it doesn't look the way you thought that it would. It really will. Even when it's in its biggest success and everyone is lauding and saying, look at your amazing success, it won't be the way you planned it. So there's some beauty in that. And there's something about the co-creation of working with your soul and the universe to bring through what needs to come. And you know what? Sometimes frustration is what needs to come through. It's the bedrock. It's the polishing of the soul light of the dream in this world. And we are creating this new world together. So that's my message for you of encouragement. If you're feeling stuck, change the perspective of where you're at and look to the side and feel into what has been and feel into what is being and just accept where you are, because sure as not, the energy will shift again and you'll be moving forward. But we are so conditioned to sit in the present and beat ourselves up if we don't feel we're making enough movement. And who are we to judge that? That's our mind. Last thing I'll leave you with is whenever you are feeling confusion or coulda, shoulda, wouldas or self-blame or fear, bring your attention to your heart, touch your heart, actually touch it, and imagine that you can drop the thinking mind into your heart and the spaciousness of the heart, and stop thinking and asking and praying and just sit there for a while. Sit within your heart and see if you can feel into the heart fields, actually the expansion, not just the physical heart or the heart chakra, but this space of energy that connects you to your soul, to spirit, to the heart of earth, to the spiritual realms. And the heart will always bring you peace and comfort and give you true wisdom and guidance. So practice asking your heart. It will speak to you. And then allow yourself to start learning its language. So thank you for spending a bit of time here with me in the 10,000 hours, this support system that I just want to share from my heart whenever some information drops into my awareness. And sometimes I'm conversing with other light workers and friends of mine, and it's just a beautiful thing that I feel guided to do and put out somehow into the ethers. So wishing you much love and light on your path, and looking forward to connecting with you again with another episode of my podcast. Namaste.